welcome back to the channel. It's Lauren. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Okay, so like raise your hand if you feel like all the blush palettes that are coming out this year like literally taunting you, coming for you, because that's how I feel. I feel like for a long time I've been able to defend against the allure of blush palettes for many reasons, like how many of these are you gonna use, like not all the colors are for you, that type of thing. But in the mode I'm in, when it comes to blush, what I've been liking, all of it, I don't know what it is. The stars have aligned and everyone's coming out with freaking blush palettes, and I'm in like a peak blush loving phase. So yeah, it's a lot, and I thought we could talk about all the different ones that are out. Just talk about them, chat about them, really get in depth about the palettes that are coming out. Spoiler, I did buy one, so you'll have to guess which one you think I've bought. But I also wanted to go through the blush palettes that I have, because there is something with this, like all these blush palettes are also beautiful. I want to like participate and buy all of them naturally, but I also do want to be realistic. Like I like my products to have use. I like them to be something that in 6 months I'm really excited about still, or I'm happy that I purchased, not something that once the holiday season passes, once these things aren't like shiny and brand new, I kind of look at and regret. I don't want to make those purchases as much as I can help it, you know? So I like to be a little bit more critical. And so yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I hope you guys are down, and I'd love to know any of your thoughts on any of these blush palettes. Like I really feel like there are just so many. There are so many. And can we talk about like something, just we're starting off with this, what the fuck is up with all these prices? Like, I don't know if I've just not realized or what, but the prices of these blush palettes, and I know they're from more like prestige brands, luxury brands, but in this economy, like really, it's getting out of hand, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It feels that way anyway. I don't know. I've bought blush palettes in the past, and I know that was years ago, but geez, like it just felt steep. It felt steep, okay? I think I'm first gonna start with this NARS palette. This is the Rising Star Cheek palette. It retails for $60, and this is actually not a surprise release to me, because I feel like NARS always comes out with a blush palette like every year, and it's not always around the holiday. They just have blush palettes a lot. I remember getting the I think it was the Stephen Klein. Is that the name? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's right, but I definitely have bought some of these palettes in the past, and a lot of the times they have like repeat shades in there. They have like Laguna bronzer, or you know, Orgasm blush with other things, sometimes some new ones. But this one, the packaging, first off, all the little stars, I absolutely love it on the outside, and then those are also pressed into the blushes. Like I just feel like it's so cohesive, it's festive without being so of the moment that later on you'd be like not into it. So packaging has a lot going for it, and I've argued in the past that packaging doesn't mean anything, but I kind of want to like walk that back a little. Like I kind of do like packaging, especially now, you know, I don't need to buy any makeup. So there is an element of packaging that does make it enjoyable for me to use, to have it in my hands, to see it in my collection, to see it on my vanity, to use it and see it in my makeup bag. Like those are things I actually do appreciate. So it's getting like 10 out of 10 on packaging and embossing and just like vibe, right? Now we go into the colors. I really like that this feels like it has a wide variety of shades in here. There's some like warmer peachier tones, some like cooler mauve things. There's something really deep going on, more of a classic pink, and then something that seems like it would maybe work as like a highlighter in here. Looking at the blush swatches, I also quite like that. Like this one's, I think, a pretty good one. I also love that I think most of these blushes are shimmery. I might be wrong on that, but there is something about these that all seem like they aren't like flat matte, and I really enjoy that too. So I don't know. I really love this. It says that it's 6 limited edition shades, so it looks like they're not like re-promoting classic shades in their collection or in their line already. I love this one. $60 also, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be too bad when I compare this price to some of the other ones we're going to talk about, but I really, really love this. And actually, out of everything from the holiday collection from NARS, including the palette, I feel like this is the real thing that's like standing out to me that I would maybe want to purchase. I thought about the eyeshadow palette, and I know this video is not about literally eyeshadows, but I think I've decided like, no, I'm not gonna get that. It's just a little too basic, honestly, for me anyway. I just know I have that stuff, and I don't think I need that one. So I really love this. I do. I really freaking like it. Very, very tempting. Next, let's talk about these Hourglass blush palettes. These are not just blushes. These have a lot of different things in them. They come out with these every single year, but this year they've come out with 3 different palettes. I feel like that's always been the complaint, that they usually have one palette with shades that only fit light skin tones. And I feel like maybe they have attempted this year to try to do something more and a bigger range and just, I guess, yeah, more vast. I'm not sure if that's happening. It's pretty interesting because when I was looking at these, I wanted to see swatches and they really didn't provide swatches. Like, they have cheek swatches for sure, but I don't see really anything on the arms or anything to like help give me an idea of these products. So I'm not really sure about how these range. I'm the most attracted to the Tiger color story as well as the outer packaging, which, if you didn't know, the outer packaging, you can customize that on Hourglass's website. So if you're interested in like a packaging over a certain other packaging and you want different insides, different guts, you could do that on their website. So anyway, I really like, though, the Tiger packaging in general. I'm not sure how that would actually look on me because not all of these, again, are blushes. There are blushes in here, but looking at the Tiger palette, there is a finishing powder in here that's a little bit deeper, but then they also have 3 strobing powders and 2 blushes. Just the tones kind of in this one are the ones that kind of call to me the most. The Elephant palette has a finishing powder in it as well. It has a bronzer, it has another finishing powder and 2 blushes and a strobe light. I really don't know why they picked what they did to go in these, but and then but then in the Butterfly palette, this one has 2 different finishing powders, 2 strobe powders, and 2 blushes in it. And the blushes in this one seem so similar. So this one, I mean, when they first launched these, I will not lie, this to me is like perfect packaging. Like, I love the packaging so much, obviously, especially the Tiger one. I think it like also just looks so good because it's contrasted with all those like warm colors in there with that blue packaging and the orange tiger. Like, it just looks so good. But when I really look at the insides of these palettes, you know, it's not just blushes, it's other face products that are in here, and that's not exactly what I'm going for. I'm not looking for a full face palette. I really do want like a blush palette. So I really don't think these ones are right for me. I don't think the actual inside, the actual guts are gonna do it for me, and I feel like I'd be better off just like picking an Hourglass blush. Like, if I really wanted an Hourglass formula blush, just go buy one of the blushes that's gonna work for you instead of these palettes. Not to mention, these are $85. I know they've been that price for a while, but I've just not been interested in them for so many years that I kind of forgot how expensive they were. But it's just so much money just to have this beautiful packaging and stuff in it that I'm like unsure would really get the use. So yeah, I'm not gonna get these ones, even though I feel like initially these were something that felt hard to resist. Like, how could I not? Like, look at them, they're so beautiful. But you know, with a little bit of time and also dissecting the actual product, not just this beautiful packaging that like stuns your eyes and makes you like gaga, but actually looking at the product, I'm like, the 2 that seem where most of the products would like work for me well, I'm not interested in the blushes too much, and they just aren't doing it for me actually. So I'm not gonna pick those up. Those are off my list, luckily. But I cannot lie, they are beautiful pieces of makeup and like, you know, packaging and all of that. I do think that they're quite pretty. Now we move on to Pat McGrath. I talked a little bit about these in my Pat McGrath video that I did on the entire Celestial Nirvana. Is that the name? I think that's the name of the collection. But there are 2 different blush palettes that will be coming out. These I don't think have released yet. So it was kind of confusing because the palette and the mascaras launched on the 23rd or something. Like, they launched already, but it wasn't clear that the other products in the collection weren't gonna launch also that day. So I was like ready, right? Ready to get on the site, ready to like get my shit because I know what I'm ordering. And the stuff that I want isn't available. So I didn't pick up that palette. If this is spoilers at all. I ended up not getting the Celestial Nirvana palette because All the colorful shades are just mattes. Anyway, there's a video that's gonna come of me duping that and a lot of other palettes coming up, so stay tuned. It's probably gonna be freaking long as hell because there's a lot of palettes to dupe. Anyway, back to the blushes. That's why we're here. These blush palettes look beautiful. These really do. There's 4 different blushes that are in here, and there's like this highlighter thing on the side. I think the one I'm most interested in is the Nude Venus palette, but the thing about these blush palettes that you guys let me know is that some of these have existing shades. I think there might be some new ones too. It might be a mix, but there are some existing shades that are already in the blush line in here. So if you're thinking about getting these, definitely be aware of that. If you already are like a big collector of her blushes, make sure you don't get doubles. But the Nude Venus has the Desert Orchid shade, Divine Rose 3, Nude Venus, and Paradise Venus, as well as the Sunset Nectar highlighter. It's hard because I do like this, and actually Desert Orchid is one of the blushes on my list. The only blush I have from the normal line is the Flirtatious one, so this one I don't believe I would be doubling up on anything. It's hard. I feel like I'm slightly on the fence. Like, I feel like this is one of those products where if it goes on sale, I might pick this one up, but I don't know if I'm going to pick it up right at launch. I do really like the single pan blushes from Pat McGrath. In my experience, like Flirtatious has been so great, so easy to work with, so blendable, buildable, like all the things I want in a blush. But I've talked about this, the duo that I have is not the same, and I don't know if that color is just maybe a little bit too deep, and so it's just not working that way, but I just have not had that experience with that blush, so it's made me a little bit wary. And also, something with the blush palettes, it's another thing I want to kind of talk about, and this kind of goes for all blush palettes, just the fact that they're not single compacts, is that they are quite large, and that is the appeal, right? Like getting a lot of product, a lot of different colors, you know, being able to reach for a different blush each day, whatever's inspiring you, like kind of this palette of blush colors in front of you. But when I look at my actual habits, I really do feel like I tend to reach for singular compacts quite often. It's not a big deal to me. I could travel with a single compact a lot easier, and it's just, you know, I like a piece of makeup that is so small, and I feel like these blush palettes are quite large. They look like they might be like full-size blushes in here, plus you have the addition of that highlighter, and it's just a lot of space. It's a big palette, you know, is what it feels like it's gonna be. And I don't know if that's actually gonna be something that I enjoy using. I enjoy, you know, having in my vanity in my bathroom and actually reach for. So the actual size of the specifically the Pat McGrath, but also trying to keep in mind for all the blush palettes, is making me question how much I'll really use. I mean, that highlighter looks huge. Like, it looks massive, massive, massive. The other blush palette though is called Divine Rose. This has Desert Orchid 2, Peony Rose, Divine Rose 1, Electric Bloom, and then Nude Nectar as the highlighter. This one's a lot more pinky and a little less like brown toned, but very beautiful. I definitely think these blush palettes are, you know, they're tempting. I love them. I love looking at them. I love the embossing. I love just everything, but I'm trying to think about myself in 6 months. Will I be happy? And that's the question that's kind of hard for me. Like, in 6 months, when we're in, let's say, I'm really talking about buying these, I guess, like at Christmas time. So I'm thinking around July, right? Like into summer of next year. What am I doing with these products? Where are they in my collection? How am I feeling about them? Am I busting out this, you know, Celestial Nirvana holiday blush palette? I'm not sure. Am I taking that with me on my little summer jaunts and vacations? I'm not really sure. And that is something I want. You know, I want products that are kind of timeless, that I can use all of the time, you know, to enjoy my makeup and switch out and all that. And I'm just not sure if it does it, you know? It says here on the site they're gonna retail for $62. Not nearly as bad as it could be, you know, not the $85 price tag that Hourglass is out here charging. So it's nice in that way, but it's still not cheap. And I really feel like, though, if it went like, let's say half off, sometimes she does that with the holiday stuff, like whatever doesn't sell. If this went half off and it was more in the $30 range, $35 range, way more enticing, right? Like, it really is, when I'm thinking of how I'm purchasing stuff, it's like, does the price make sense for how much I'm gonna use it? Like, all the things have to make sense, and there's different configurations for sure. Like, if it's cheaper, but I'm still not gonna use it as much, but will get some joy out of it, that might still be worth it because it's not $62, it was only $30. And like, you know, there's different configurations, but I definitely feel like at launch, these aren't gonna be ones I'm gonna pick up, even though, again, they're also tempting. I know I'm kind of like anti-hauling them for myself here with you guys. guys and really talking through my feelings, but I don't want it to get it twisted. I definitely still feel like so much love and excitement when I look at them. Moving on from Pat McGrath, this one from Charlotte Tilbury, the two that are coming out, these are just beautiful, and I guess I'll spoil it. This is the one I picked up. So these are the Pillow Talk Beautifying Face Palettes. These are $75 a piece. There are two different shades. One's a little bit deeper, one's a little bit lighter. I picked up the lighter of the two. I think there was something about these palettes. One, I really like the Charlotte Tilbury like packaging. Again, it's kind of classic and it feels luxury and luxe in a way that feels good. And I know when I think of that 6-month mark, right, I would still love to have this. So it's not too holiday themed. It's not too big. Also, there's 4 products in here. 2 of them kind of verge on almost like a highlighter or like a blush lighter, and then there are 2 more like blushy tones, and I really like kind of the versatility of that. It feels like a lot of blush and like, you know, beautiful for the eyes to look at, but also something that seems like realistic for me to use. It's pretty interesting as well because right now I'm in a very, you know, blushy stage, and I've been exploring colors of blushes that I maybe didn't like even a couple months ago, and I feel like this blush palette and the colors that are in here, I probably at the beginning of the year would not have been interested in this palette based off of just the colors of the more what look like kind of matte blushes that are in here. But where I am now, I actually like that, something a little bit pinkier and brighter. It doesn't have to be super brown toned. It doesn't have to be only peachy shades. And so that's kind of interesting to me. I really like it. I'm very excited for it. I love the outer packaging too. Very luxe. It's kind of this mother of pearl, but kind of girly because it's like a light pink shade, and I'm very excited for it. It feels timeless, even though I'll be buying it as a part of a holiday collection and it will be limited edition. There's something about the way it looks and I feel like it's presented that I do see and hope and think that I will be using this later on in my life, a year later, all of that, assuming the formula is good and I like that, you know, and the colors look good on me, that type of stuff. So I'm very excited for this one. $75 was a lot to spend. That's when I was like, what the hell is going on? I bought this off of Charlotte Tilbury's website, but yeah, that is the one that I actually ended up buying so far. I don't know if I'll get more. I have been testing this thing where I'm trying to still be critical and think through my purchases, but at the same time, you know, I'm not like setting a limit. There's no I have to or I can't, because I feel like sometimes that sets me up to almost like binge on makeup, right? Like if I feel like I can't buy it, like I'm telling myself, no, like you want it, but no, you shouldn't, or you can't. I feel like sometimes I like rebel and like end up buying way more makeup just because I felt like constrained. And so I'm kind of trying to just like allow myself. And I think it's interesting because I did this with the Pat McGrath palettes too. I was like so into the whole collection. I was so excited and I let myself sit with it, really think about it. And I know what pieces I want to buy. And I think I'm going to pick up 3 for sure, maybe 4, but probably just 3 pieces from the collection instead of at one point wanting like all of it, you know? Kind of interesting. Anyway, total side tangent and just something like kind of personal, but I thought I would just share. I think we have 2 more blush palettes to talk about though. I just can't believe there are this many blush palettes to even talk about. I think there might even be more blush palettes in this, but these are the ones that I think that they're all like solid, I guess, launches, you know? So looking at Tarte, let's go to Tarte. This is the Precious Gems Amazonian Clay Cheek Palette. Now, this is a complete throwback to me because I was up on those Tarte cheek palettes back in the day, right? Like 2015, 2014, 2013, 2012. Like I lived for the holiday releases of the Amazonian Clay blushes from Tarte. I loved it. This was back when those blushes were like the shit, right? Like these were the blushes everyone loved. And I haven't been interested in the blush palettes in so long. I don't even know if they've done blush palettes, like proper blush palettes the last couple of years, but they definitely did the minis. Like if you've been here, you know I had a bunch of those fucking minis. I had the palettes, like I had it all. And I actually liked this one. I mean, it's a lot of peachy tones, it looks like. There's also a bronzer in there, which, you know, that's only gonna work for so many people. But the real thing with the Tarte one though, the thing that I could appreciate is the fact that this wasn't fucking $80, okay? At least it's only $39. I feel like they're like Tarte's coming in with the proper price point because I'm telling you, the gall of these brands, like, you know, when I think of the midi palettes from Natasha Denona are considered expensive at $65, and I'm not saying they're not, they are expensive at $65, but like these blush palettes are coming in. Like, it's just, it feels wild. It feels wild. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, this one's still an easy no for me, but I guess I'm surprised that I'm like looking at it as much as I am. And I feel like it still fits into the other products. There's something about it, doesn't quite sell the fantasy. It feels a little more mass produced. It does feel a little cheaper, but it is nice that the price tag is there as well. At least it is actually cheaper instead of just feeling like that. Okay, and the last one I want to talk about, this is the Patrick Ta Major Headlines Blush and Highlighter Palette Volume 2. This one is very tempting to me. Now, Patrick Ta came out with one last year, I believe around the holidays as well, and it was a lot brighter, lots of really bright colors, and I was definitely not into that then. I would say I'm more interested in it now than I was then, but still not enough probably to actually purchase it. The thing about this palette from Patrick Ta though is that half of it is powder, half of it is cream, and that is a really intriguing aspect. I really like that. I believe these have like the covers too, so you're protecting those cream products and it's not gonna get all disgusting, which I just love that like extra detail. I believe this might be like the newest one that's kind of revealed itself so far in like all the ones I'm talking about in this video. And I would say this is probably the one that's like next on my list, like the one I'm most tempted by out of the ones I've talked about that I haven't bought, if that makes sense. But I feel like that might be because it's new. Anyway, I'm trying to really look at this palette for if I will use it. And the thing is, the highlighter in here, I do not think I will like that cream highlighter. It looks like something that doesn't have a ton of pigment. It seems more like glossy, sticky. Like it gives me sticky vibes by all the swatches I've seen and whatnot. So I'm not interested in that so far, but I can't lie. Like this one, I like the packaging. It's simple, you know, it is quite big, but it's like longer. There's something about it. There's something about it. I love that it's cream and the powder though. I do. I really, really do. If I saw this in person, I think I really would want to see this in person. It'd be tempting. And this one's $58, still very expensive. Like I was shocked when I saw that price. I really was. I forget how expensive Patrick Ta is until I like buy the Major Dimensions palette. I'm like, $65 for Patrick Ta? Like, I'm not saying I don't like it. I really like those eyeshadow palettes, but I just, you know, I just get shocked. I remember when palettes being $45, $50 was a lot of fucking money, you know? And so for these palettes out here to be like $15 more than that right now, I'm like, you know, I just, is the real wage going? Like what? Okay, we won't get into that. We're not getting into that right now. Anyway, so those are the palettes. We're gonna leave it there. I don't know what I'm gonna end up getting, but so far I think it will just be the Charlotte Tilbury. I hope I enjoy it. I hope I like it. I've never tried any blushes from Charlotte Tilbury, so that'll be interesting and fun, and I'm excited for it. So we'll see. You'll see that later on the channel. But now let's get into some of the blush palettes that I do have. I think that would just be a fun piece. And I think if you're interested in these blush palettes also, checking your own drawers at home, getting inspired, maybe use some of the ones, see if it's something you really like, and it can kind of help you maybe decide if getting one of these new ones would be a great choice and fun, or if it maybe is something you don't need, and just can give you insight maybe. Plus you'll get to use the collection and the products that you already have. All right, I'm gonna start with Natasha Denona. I have two different blush palettes from Natasha Denona. This one is the Diamond and Blush palette. This is quite old. I got this through BoxyCharm a while ago for like $18. What's so cool, and I wish that she would kind of come back with some of this stuff, is that this actually follows her palettes where you can pop these out and you could put different shades in here, or, you know, I would feel like ideally you could refill them. But this also has some creams and powder, so there is a little flap here. I definitely bought this initially, like when I did, probably 2 years ago at this point. I bought this because it was Natasha Denona for under $20 for sure, like for sure. And definitely back then, looking at the colors, it's not quite my thing, but now it's a little bit more. I feel like these pink tones, I definitely can get down with a little bit more, but I haven't. So I'm busting this one out for sure. I feel like there's some fun stuff in here. This is a diamond powder, which has a very like shimmery wet look to it. It's just like sparkle suspended in nothing. Like there's no base on it. And I find that one really fun to like tap onto the brow bone, into the outer corner as your highlighter. There's also like more of a powder highlighter. Again, the powder blush. The one shade I really don't love is the purple one up here, just because it is a little bit much, but I also haven't given it too much of a chance. It's one of those ones that kind of looks purple, kind of looks gold. It reminds me of like I think it's a lilac geode from Becca. Anyway, I have that palette, and definitely like if we're keeping tally here on like, are you using it? Would this help you decide if you should or should not get a blush palette? This one probably tells me like, nah, girl, don't get the blush palette. It's like, that's what this purchase tells me. So we'll kind of keep tally, I guess, as we go. What do the numbers say? The other Natasha Denona palette that I have is one that I have gotten lots of use out of. This is the Bloom palette. It's so weird because this thing's getting old too. It's weird when makeup that feels so relevant starts, you're like, oh my gosh, it's transitioning into being like an old thing. And I feel like that's where this is. But I used this today, so I'll put in a clip of me applying it. I went in actually with the darker shade here. I really wanted to do something a little bit fun. I did end up topping it with a Clinique powder blush as well, but I just went in with my sponge and really wanted to try to get a light application. These types of colors kind of scare me, and I'm trying to use them more and enjoy them more and explore them more and get used to seeing them on my skin, because sometimes, you know, if you just do something different than what you normally do, just the shock of that can kind of not give you an accurate idea of if you like it or not. So you need to do it a few times, like, you know, get used to it first before you can decide if you like it or not. Anyway, I think it turned out quite nice. Like, I do like this. And then I did use the highlighter shade in here as well, to just top over, and it has quite a gold look. I feel like I've gotten a lot of use out of this palette. This is one that tells me there is room for me to enjoy a blush palette in my collection and still get a lot of great use out of it. Even if there's a shade that maybe I don't reach for very often, I can still get use out of most of the palette and enjoy it and feel like it's a good purchase. So I haven't busted this out in a while. It was in my Shop My Stash. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave it linked down below, but this is one that tells me it could be good. Like, blush palettes can work and be good. And I love that this is powder and cream, and that it's like kind of like blush lighter, highlighter, and real blushes. Like, I like all of the stuff in here. So, oh my gosh, I just kicked my camera. It's pretty interesting though, because having that palette, I wish I kept my bronze palette around from Natasha Denona. I decluttered that a while ago, and I don't have a lot of decluttering regrets necessarily, but it's one of those things that I kind of wish I had now. But I don't. Okay. All right, moving on. I'm gonna talk about the other brand that I have two blush palettes from. I actually have another face palette that technically has a blush from Becca, but I didn't want to pull it because it's more like the Hourglass ones where it's like face powders, finishing powders, bronzer, like it's a lot of other stuff besides blushes. Anyway, this is the Barbie Ferreira holiday collection from 2020, right before they're gonna close down their shop. But this is a beautiful, beautiful like blush highlighter palette. I was so stoked for this when this came out, and I still think this is absolutely beautiful. This here as a highlighter is so pretty. I love this kind of burnt red shade that's in here. There's like a nice bronzy color as well. The purple's a little much. The purple's a lot. Maybe not something I use all the time. And then there's like this iridescent kind of blue highlighter in the middle. It really is such a fun palette, and I like it. I do like it. Do I use it a ton? No, but it's something that I just like, I like. I don't know how to explain it. Do you guys have this product? I hate the packaging though. This is one where the packaging I feel like is really holding it back. It being so big, and also it has this kind of like weird shape. That is something holding back this palette from being something I travel with and bring around a lot. I feel like if it had the packaging of this, it would be way easier for me to incorporate this into more my everyday makeup and, you know, with shopping my stash and that type of stuff. And that is like a lesson I feel like I can learn from this, and why I feel like packaging is kind of important when you're thinking about how you use your makeup. And sometimes the powders can be beautiful and inspiring and exciting, but if you're not bringing those into your space, or they take up too much room, or, you know, you're more on the go, like a packaging like this is not going to help you use it, even if the inside's good. So that would probably go, oh, it's like in the middle. I don't know if it would go in the like no or yes. It's a middle one. It truly is. The other one is actually a collab item with Becca. This is the Chloe and Malika, and this is like the Chloe palette, I believe. Now this one has a bronzer, a highlighter, and two blushes in here. I think this is so beautiful. I feel like this is something that like basically Charlotte Tilbury-esque, like it feels luxury. It feels so nice. It's like that baked formula. Oh, I love this. This one is definitely a yes. You know, I feel like even though this came out so long ago and it is getting old, it's the type of blush palette, again, four seems to be the number. It really does, where there's variety, it's something exciting. It's definitely more value in product than a single blush, but it's not overwhelming. It's not too many, and also you can keep it compact. Anyway, I love this. I think it is so nice, and this would go definitely to me in, yes, blush palettes can be good. So the tallies are 1 no, 1 maybe, 2 yes. That's where we're at. I think we have 2 no's coming up. Let's talk about this Beauty Bakery. This is the Cotton Candy Champagne Blush Lighter Palette. Now, every blush that's in here is shimmery. If you want to see me apply this, I actually have a video where I'm trying on a ton of different blushes, so I'll leave that down below as well. I need to actually film the part 2. I just haven't. It was kind of a lot because I was, you know, actually applying multiple blushes on my cheeks, and so you need time to recover, not only physically but mentally from that, okay? Anyway, this actually, when I started applying these, looked really great. I feel like the Stop and Smell the Rosé, this shade, was a little bit deep on my complexion and kind of looked a little bruisey because these all do have that shimmer. But actually on, I feel like so many of these looked really, really great. But I can't deny there's something about this that I just don't reach for, and it doesn't inspire me. And that's a really big part of my collection. I'm learning about, you know, what is in here, what makes me excited, makes me want to reach for it, makes me say, oh my gosh, why am I not using that more? And although I have those like thoughts about this, it's more once I open it and once I put it on, not once I just see it. And I do like having the see it aspect mean something. Does it? If that makes sense. So this one, although it's pretty and I got a great deal on it, this is a BoxyCharm pickup. Y'all know me and my BoxyCharm love for sales. And I really wanted to try something from Beauty Bakery. And again, the formula is really great. They look so nice on the cheeks. And I'm surprised because this isn't like a baked formula. It's kind of a bit thicker, you know, and pressed kind of hard. And I just feel like, you know, looking at it, it doesn't feel as luxe as I want. It doesn't feel all those things, but it actually does look really great on the cheeks. But I never just like get to the point of putting it on because of all these other things, you know? So I would say this one tells me not to. It's big. I don't feel like I need as big of pans that are in here. Like I could easily have half the size pans and have this be half the size. And I feel like that alone would make me want to use this more. So this one would probably go in the no's of don't get blush palettes. This one from Oma Beauty, I picked this one up right when it came out. I saw it on Ulta Beauty. I was so excited. Again, really wanted to try some stuff from Oma. And this is the volume 2, which is the lighter of the 2 that came out. And these highlighters are stunning. They are so pretty, but unfortunately they're just a little too dark for me. So that isn't like a complaint necessarily against this. I'm just sad I can't use it, you know? But absolutely stunning. And then there's like a bit of a bronzer as well as a blush. I really need to give this just more of a shot though. I definitely can use these 2, but as highlighters, these ones are a little bit more difficult for me to actually get some use out of. So overall, this is probably a no, but I'm like sitting here being like, I want to give you more of a shot. Like I'm gonna make you work. You know what I mean? Because these, like for the quality of the powders that are in here, I think they're really, really nice. I feel like the packaging actually is kind of deceiving because it's more of that like, it feels kind of professional, like Makeup Forever style where it's very like basic and then that powders are what actually is nice. And these glowy powders, I'm telling you, are stunning. If you feel like this would work for you, it's nice. It is nice quality and all of that. But yeah, this one probably goes in the middle. I would say this one goes in the middle actually now that we're here. It's a maybe. Like it could be good. Like imagining all those colors working for me better, I feel like that could be like a go-to every day, basically like the Becca one without the packaging, you know? I think we're down to the last 2 and that will be all of the basically face palettes that I have. This one was sent to me. I think this is the only one that's been PR so far. Maybe the Becca one was PR. I might have been able to get that as PR, but I'm not sure. Anyway, this one's from Ciate London. This is the Glow 2 Illuminating Blush, and these actually remind me a lot of the formula of the Beauty Bakery. They're that harder, all shimmery, kind of thick feeling blushes. A big variety of colors are in here. I really love this one. It's kind of like this bronzy shade. The other ones are a little bit brighter, but these definitely have glow. Like lots of shimmer, and I feel like because it's that harder or like thicker formula, I do feel like the shimmer in is not delicate. And so there's something about it that I do feel like looks textured so far every time I've worn it. So I want to like it so much, and I feel like they nailed packaging and size for a blush palette for me, and I like so much about it. I think it's really cute, but I don't know if the color selection's right, the formula's right, like all those things. I love that they're glowy. I just wish it was like a glowy baked blush. You know, it's like more my style. So I would say this one unfortunately goes in the nose. And last, this one's from Pat McGrath herself. This is from holiday last year, and this is the Divine Blush and Glow Trio in Galactic Sun. Really beautiful. There's like a warm blush in here, a cooler blush, and a highlighter. The quality of these blushes is amazing. Do I use this? For some reason, I don't reach for this. This is the one that makes me question how much I would use the ones from Pat McGrath, because this is smaller, right? One of the big complaints I have with that one is like, how big is it gonna be? This one's smaller and it has 3 in here, and how much do I use it still? Even this I don't use as much as I feel like I should. So yeah, this is one that I feel like is in the maybe, because I feel like the quality's there. It's just, I need to make sure I'm reaching for it more. I don't regret it, but does it make me want to buy more like this? That I need to like slow my roll and question, you know? Well, I think I'm gonna leave it here. I think we've talked about blushes and blush palettes and all my thoughts like too long. I'd love to know any of your guys' thoughts on the blush palettes that are coming out. Are you into blush? Are you into creams, powders? Are you interested in them? Are you like me and like just so tempted by all the blushes right now? I'm really trying to remind myself that I do think that overall, as much as these blush palettes get me excited because I am interested in blush, that I do think that 8 times out of 10, like 8.5 times out of 10, I probably would be happier with a single blush. You know, I still like the blush. I do think that's a very true thing. But when it comes to the palettes, I think that those might be a little deceiving in how much I'll use them. Whereas if I bought similar colors all in singles, I think I would get more use out of those. I really do. And that's something I want to try to keep in mind when, you know, I'm tempted by these blush palettes out there. And who knows what else is gonna drop. We're literally not even in October yet, and I've already seen so much holiday. It's so interesting when things release so early. I'm like, when it's actually like holiday time, like I'm thinking like the last month of the year, what is what's dropping then? Like we're already talking about spring. What's going on, you know? Anyway, I'm rambling. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and other than that, I will see you in my next one. Yeah, bye.